So in this segment of prayer, the first thing I'm going to refer back to, of course, is you have to have something to pray to. And we talked about developing a connection to a higher power. So another word for prayer might be listening. So it's like active listening and requesting. So you're making a request and you're listening. Because when you're praying, you're saying, can you please help me with this? And then, but you're also hoping to get some type of response, the receiving part. So those are first things. So first, you kind of have to go back to thinking of your higher power, whatever that is for you, and how will you be connecting with that? So one of the ways I do this is in the morning when I am meditating. So when I go into my meditative space, I go through a journey, and then my has like an inner power spot. And then once I sit there and my mind is quiet, I can make a request and say, please show me, what is the best path for me to take. For example, um, should I continue with my PhD program or should I put it on hold? Please help me, please give me an answer. And in the dream, I might get a symbol. I might get, 3 colored rocks. And I'll be like, oh, well, what the heck did that mean, right? I don't know. And so what's interesting with questions like that, you will eventually find, and I promise this will happen if it already hasn't, when you pay attention to those messages that you get when you're inside meditation, they will connect with things in your life because someone will give you those 3 rocks, or someone, or you'll see something in a movie that will be exactly like what you meditated on, and it will be your answer. I mean, the universe, the energy around us speaks to us through every medium available. It is quite phenomenal when you listen. So the things to watch out for when you make a prayer and you're requesting an answer is our minds. Minds can be pretty tricky because there's this thing called confirmation bias. We might have heard a lot about this because in these days we're much more aware of how our brains work. But it's where, it's like our ego. We want to know what's right. We want to know we're right. It's like, oh yes, I'm supposed to do this PhD. It's the right thing to do. I'm taking it as an example because I've been in my PhD program, dropped out, and then right now, as I'm doing this video, thinking about jumping back in again, and it's one of my questions. So I'll see what happens by the end of this video, whether I've jumped back in or not. And then, but the thing is, when you understand yourself, your own wounds, your own patterns, when you understand your inner psychology from house cleaning, that's a segment we haven't gone over yet, then you're far less apt to get the mind in the way to trick you into doing something just because it's like confirmation bias. So this is something, then we can listen to the divine intelligence around us. So like really getting to know yourself, not just your persona, not just the person you are in the world and who you present yourself to be, but also the subconscious layers. All of that is really necessary on this journey in even to be able to hear the answer to a prayer. It's all that cleaning is very necessary. There's so many wonderful ways to do that these days too. It's so many paths, Buddhist path, 12-step programs, therapy, traditional therapy, of course. There are just millions of ways to do it. I think there are probably millions of ways. So prayer, yes. So the other thing I want to say about prayer is, we have things like the law of attraction. I am going to attract this thing in my life by focusing on it and willing it. And then we're also taught that unless we focus and will and are in a positive state of mind, that nothing good is going to happen. And then on the other extreme, we also hear that if nothing good is happening in your life, is because you're not thinking properly about it and you're being negative. Well, that is not completely true. It's like, and we beat ourselves up so much with that philosophy. And it's like, there is such thing as divine grace. And actually in my next book, I have a whole section about this because I feel so strongly about it. You can feel like crap and be depressed and be in a negative state of mind, and you can make a prayer and it will be answered and it will be heard. And it is divine, that divine grace, whatever you believe it is, whether you believe it's angels, whether it's your higher self intervening for you, whether it's God, I mean, it doesn't matter who or what it is, but the truth of the matter is that you do not have to be in charge of everything in order for your life to work, and you don't have to be in a perfect state of mind all the time to be spiritual or to have the things you want in your life. I mean, it's like, I just want to hug everyone and tell them that, please don't think you have to force yourself to be perfect all the time in a great state of mind in order to have beautiful things in your life and attract them. It is just not true. The biggest, yeah, just not true. So when you surrender and you ask for help, you will get divine help. You just have to keep an eye out for it. So that is definitely there. And one of the places I saw, it's sort of like the beginning of, I think the secret, the law of attraction came out of these things. So years before that, there was a wonderful little book called A Sermon on the Mount, written by Emmett Fox. And of course, he took his philosophy from others before him, but he came up with this idea of scientific prayer, where you believe in a power greater than yourself. You ask, and whenever you have trouble, the trouble that's going on in your life, instead of thinking of the trouble, you think about divine source instead. Like, oh, okay, divine source has got this, divine source has got this, and sure enough, the answers come. So that's like a golden key, how to solve problems very simply and without having to be in a good mood. And I find it has worked wonders for me and other people who have used that. So it's another wonderful secret. It's like, you've got the secret of the secret now. Also, let's see. When we're just manifesting things from our brain and going, I want this to happen now, and I'm praying, I'm not going to pray because I got this. What happens is we sometimes limit our dreams and manifestations because we're not allowing the divine to intervene on our behalf. The divine, highest order of nature, whatever you want to call it. But when we're just operating from our mind, I call it mind, some people call it ego. When we're just operating from the framework of what we know, we are limiting our answers to come from what we know, rather than allowing for new information to come in and even perhaps, blow our mind a little about our perception of the world, which is what we want to continuously spiritually grow. Is we constantly need our paradigm to shift of ourselves, of how we see ourselves as, limited beings with a personality, to like beings that are, in this body, that are connected to all these other beings and time and space, and how we're infinite in time and space. I mean, how is it even possible? It's like, yeah, and that might explain things like being able to dream about the future, precognitive events. And, there's, I get so excited when I think about all this because, we're constantly breaking the paradigms to become more and more free and more pure and more of who we really are. And so by creating the life you want and manifesting what you want, when you break down the paradigm of what you think you want in a little box, I want this type of house in this type of community in San Diego, California. I live near San Diego, so I can say that, right? Well, instead of saying this is the exact one, it's more like you say, I want to do this, or for the highest good, or show me something better. It's always leave the opening when you are praying. Say, show me what to do about this, and to hone in the tools of listening. So I realize this is a lot of stuff to get yourself back spiritually on track, but even just doing pieces of this, integrating this into your life will give you a lifeline no matter what's going on in your world, because you will always have the lifeline to find a way to come back to your true self and even expand what you thought your true self was, so you become a continual upgraded version of yourself. So anyway, on to the next one, right?